are listening to the Jboy Show, your number one source for Auburn and the SEC.
My goal was to run through his soul and grab his heart when I run through his soul.
Kurt, Nate, Coach Staff, those are memories.
I think we've established ourselves as, I think, the premier conference in college football.
Now, the SEC is better at the top. It's better in the middle.
The Southeastern Conference remains the premier conference.
Now takes the snap. Looking for the receiver. He's got Lutz and Kirkland. Touchdown, Auburn!
Think about it. It's always been the SEC and everybody else trying to catch it.
I think this is probably the best league from a competitive venue standpoint.
They have the most capable teams. You just look at those programs, the way they recruit, how they invest.
Snap to Burrow. 3 steps. Fires. Back corner of the end zone. Over the shoulder catch. Did he hold on? He did. Justin Jefferson. Touchdown, Tiger.
And now, your host, Jboy.
Hello, everybody, and thank you for joining us on another special edition of your favorite new podcast, The Jboy Show. And we are honored to be joined by a guy that Auburn fans and SEC fans will know very well, Kansas City Chiefs fans and NFL fans will know, and that's Mr. Jeris Mcintyre. Jeris, I really appreciate you taking some time for us, man.
For sure, man. For sure. I'm glad to be on.
Yeah, it's I want to start with your playing days, and you played from 2000 to 2003. You were a 6th-round draft pick for the Chiefs in the 2004 draft, but you played with guys like Jason Campbell and Carlos Rogers during a time where you guys had a ton of talent around you and a lot of big things were happening at Auburn. Can you just kind of talk about what it was like during your playing days at Auburn?
Yeah, man, it was I really enjoyed it. Lots of great players, a lot of high-round draft picks, a lot of draft picks. Just had that brotherhood and that bond with a lot of the guys that I still talk to today. So, Jim was definitely fortunate to play under some good coaches, good assistants that we had, a good head coach, as well as just, like I said, the talented football players from Jason Campbell, like you said, Carlos Rogers, Cadillac, Ronnie Brown. Just a lot of really good football players, that I got to play with.
Yeah, and I mean, you were a 4-year letterman, 3-year starter. You were the offensive captain your senior year, and the leading wide receiver for Jason Campbell. It's something where when you guys played, it always seems like you had a chip on your shoulder. And I had Junior Rose Green on the show and talked with him. And can you just talk about just kind of the mindset that you guys had that gave y'all the ability to do the things y'all could do on Saturdays?
Yeah, and I just think we all had that dog mentality, and I think it started with our strength and conditioning coach, Coach Kevin Yoxel.
Mm-hmm.
I think he kind of instilled that in us as a group and as the guys as they came in. That hey, it's not going to be easy. You got to work for what you want, and I think that kind of just trickled down from my class or Tuberville's first class, which was my class, all the way down. Until he left Auburn. And, it's still going, obviously, but I just know, through his days and with the strength coach, Coach Yoxel, I think he instilled that in us. And it really benefited us all, not just on the field, but off the field as well. So, big ups to him and the Auburn football program just in general through those times.
Yeah, and you're a guy, you had a ton of big plays in your career, and you were part of a ton of big moments. Is there a moment or a play, I'm sure there's a multitude of them, but is there one that kind of sticks out above the rest that even today you kind of think about every now and then?
Yeah. Well, I'm going to give you 2. I know I asked one, but I'm going to give you 2.
Listen, I'll take 2, 3, 4 if you got them.
Yeah. The first one I would say my senior year. We were ranked, fairly high in the AP and the coaches poll or whatnot, and we struggled the first 2 games and didn't get in the end zone with the talent that we had. And against Vanderbilt, week 3, I want to say it's the first or second quarter, still hasn't scored, and I caught a hitch and broke a couple tackles and got to the end zone to kind of get the scoring rolling for that 2003 season, and we went on a run and won 4 or 5 games in a row after that. So that play, I think for myself, was a huge moment, and it helped, solidify me, in the draft and think different things. I mean, not to say that play did, but I just feel like that kind of got me rolling. That senior season got our offense rolling, and so I know that is, for myself, a play that I kind of always remember. The second one is the Go Crazy Cadillac play.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm sorry. The first one was Mr. Bramlett, rest in peace, his first touchdown Auburn call. So that's another reason why I was pretty special. Now looking back at it, because that was his Rob Bramlett's first touchdown.
Wow, I didn't know that. That's pretty special.
Yeah. Someone told me that I want to say a while ago, but after he passed, someone told me, "Hey, did you realize that your pass from Jason Campbell was his first touchdown Auburn call?" Because I guess he took over for Ohio State Jim Fife that year in 2003.
Mm-hmm.
So it took us 3 games for him to get his touchdown Auburn call. But yeah. So I was the first one. So that kind of leaves kind of special place in my heart from that call for him. And then the next one was the Go Crazy Cadillac play. I keep throwing over my tongue, but I just know on that play, man, it was some really good blocking, and Cadillac made a really good. Always had great vision and made a really good cut off of the safety that I was going to block. And once I cracked down on the safety. I was a Z receiver, and I was, designated to go get the safety, blocked down on the safety. Great blocks by, rest in peace, Mariko Crittenden, and my fullback, Brandon Johnson. I think it was a lead draw, and Cadillac just busted with great vision, bounced to the outside, and I blocked the safety, and I just saw Lack running. And for whatever reason, I don't know, people ask me to this day, what were you thinking? I just started running down the sideline and I saw him running.
Yeah.
Yeah. And everybody's like, "Man, you're super fast." And it wasn't even me just trying to be fast. It was just in the moment. It was the Iron Bowl. It was actually the first play of the Iron Bowl. And I just saw him run down the sideline. I was like, "Shoot, let me run."
Yeah.
And I was just running, and I just kind of was leading them on to the end zone. So those 2 plays are kind of memorable in my mind when it comes to my career at Auburn. On top of, I had a couple big catches on that last drive when we beat Florida. I want to say in 2000, or maybe 2001, when they were ranked number 1 and they came into Jordan Hare. So, those are some of my memories that I could just really vaguely remember, and that I always think about from time to time when it comes to Auburn football.
Yeah, and I want to, for our audience, I want to kind of take them inside the helmet of you catch a hitch or you catch a slant, and you're playing in front of 80, 90, 100,000 people, and you break a few tackles and you're gone for the end zone. First question, can you hear the crowd? And second question, do you even feel your legs?
It's funny. It's funny you said that, because early in the game, if it's kind of strange. Sometimes after the fact, it's like your legs go numb. It's a weird feeling. If you break a long one, and that's been like that with me since youth football. I don't know if everybody else, but it's like weird. It's like kind of got that numb feeling. But as far as the crowd on the Go Crazy Cadillac play, I heard the crowd. It was super loud, but I didn't have the ball. But on other plays, like the Vandy play or plays again, a couple plays I had against Tennessee at just different times, when you do have the ball, it's just like everything zones out. It's just quiet. Yeah. It's really like it's just you on the field trying to, do what you got to do to get where you got to go. But it seems like you just zone out and it's quiet. You don't hear anything. Mm-hmm. So it's a weird feeling. It's kind of great, but then it's a difference, because after the play, it's like then you hear everything.
Yeah,
you hear
comes
the crowd,
back.
You hear clapping or whatever it may be. But like as the play's going on, you don't hear. I think it's more so you just zoomed in and locked in and focused on what you're doing.
Yeah, well, the human brain is amazing when you're able to focus. Obviously, because number one, people are trying to take your head off, so you're naturally locked in to kind of what's closer to you. But Jeris, what was I always find this question funny, especially when I talk to receivers, because they always have some good horror stories. What's the hardest time you ever got hit? Was there one where you came across the middle and just had to take it?
Oh, man. It's a guy, Furry. I don't know if you remember. He played receiver. He was out in the St. Louis Rams. He was playing some DB. He called me on a dig route against St. Louis. That was one. But the biggest one I can remember was coming across the middle on Ken Hamlin in Arkansas. And J Cam, luckily he didn't throw it high.
Yeah.
He threw it kind of slow, but I still felt that hit on that dig route. So it's probably one of those two, but he hit me pretty well, and I think it was before all that helmet to helmet stuff. So it was a pretty good old school hit, and I laid there for a minute, but I got up. So
yeah, definitely.
Yeah. But that's probably, I could say, the hardest I've been hit.
Yeah. Now, when you guys obviously, that 03 season, there were a lot of expectations, and then USC came to town. I know it's not a memory you like to drudge up, but, now looking back on that, because I remember, man, going into that season, I was like, USC, I was like, oh, it's a true freshman starting quarterback. I've never heard of half these guys. Turns out that guy was Matt Leinart, and they had a few other pretty decent players. Can you just kind of talk about just that game?
Yeah, man, it was a big game, and I know it was hyped up, and I think we were the only game going on. I think it was, I don't know what it was, first game, kickoff classic deal. They came out, man, they beat us. They beat us pretty good. I mean, they had a really good defense.
Yeah.
Of some guys with some future first rounders that we obviously didn't know about. And I want to, like you said, Mike Williams.
Yeah.
Came onto the scene, and they had Matt Leinart that year. Yeah, they had Matt Leinart and Reggie Bush, and those guys were freshmen. But I just think defensively, man, they had a really, really good game plan for us, and they played lights out. I mean, I'm going to be honest. And that was the first game of that, like I said, that 03 season where we didn't score. I mean, they played lights out. They were flying around. Really good ball club. And I think we figured out some things through the course of that game and started making some plays, but it wasn't enough. But I want to say that's a big reason, and some of that turnaround in 03 was a big
y'all did turn it around. Y'all turned it around.
Yeah. So we turned it around. I think that was a big reason. Some of those juniors, the Carlos Rogers, Cadillacs, Jason Campbells, and those guys, and then some of the younger receivers like Courtney Taylor and Devin Romish, Ben Obamanu. I think, that season kind of helped them propel for that 04 season to when they were undefeated. I think, went through some growing pains and kind of know, okay, don't just live off the hype. We're going to have to do this. Everybody's going to be after us. And I really think that kind of helped propel not only our players, but the coaching staff and just, organization in general. To kind of flip it around and have an outstanding 04 season.
Definitely. And you need games like that sometimes. I mean, that's what it takes. But so you get done playing in college, Jeris. You get drafted in the NFL. I'm sure a lifelong dream for you. And can you talk about just the transition of going from college to the NFL? And it's something that I talk with Gerard Powers about this too, just the difference in the league as opposed to the best college football division in the country in the SEC West. Can you just talk about, number one, what it was like to achieve that dream? Because that's like 0.002% of people ever get to achieve. And then just how big of a jump that is.
Yeah. It's a huge, being drafted was a dream of mine all along. And I was very, very happy that I was able to achieve that goal. But playing around a lot of NFL caliber players, from to Jay Ratliff to Reggie Torber, Spencer Johnson, Dontarius Thomas, Carlos Dansby, Carlos Rogers, Kevin Hobbs, just a lot of those guys on that defense in 03 were in the NFL draft picks. And like on offense, myself, Courtney Taylor, Devin Romish should do, Jason Campbell, Ronnie Brown, Cadillac Williams, Robert Johnson, tight end, the list goes on. So a lot of times I tell the people it was an adjustment, but playing in the SEC West and playing against LSU and Bama, along with competing against those kind of teammates every day that were NFL caliber players, it was a jump and it was a difference, but being able to compete wasn't. You didn't really feel intimidated per se because you have been competing against NFL caliber players. But I would say the daily grind, the verbiage behind offenses and defenses and things of that nature were definitely different. And, along with going with guys who, veterans who have been a part of it and know the game more than a rookie. So I think a lot of those things come into play when you're in the National Football League, and that's what makes the jump sometimes, for good or bad, but a little different than any other jump in the game of football.
Yeah, exactly, and it truly is the highest level. But so now, fast forwarding to today, as we kind of wind down, your cousins with a huge prospect coming out. That's 4-star Hanley defensive end, Dylan Brooks, currently committed to Tennessee. Can you just talk about, Jeris, just how you've been through the process? And recruiting's even a lot different now than it is back then with all the media attention and the rankings and stuff like that. But what advice have you given Dylan just throughout the whole process?
Honestly, myself, along with our other cousin, Jeremy Patterson, that, he was at Auburn as well with me and whatnot early on. But we really told him from day one to pick a school that you feel comfortable with, you're going there. Mm-hmm. And that's really the biggest advice. Kind of keep your head down and grind, but go through the recruiting process and get a feel and have that feel of who wants you and has a plan for you. And that's really it. I'm not telling you where to go. I may tell you what to look at. Maybe look at depth charts. Maybe look at who's going to coach you. Even though obviously coaches change or whatnot, but look at the university, look at what you want to major in, get a feel for the campus, get a feel for your teammates, know the strength coach. So a lot of those things, we say and I say just so he knows. But from there, it's going to be your decision because you're the one that's going to the school. So it's things here and there that we talk about, just keep your head down and grind because none of this recruiting really matters anyway once you get to the school, so you're going to have to compete and either, get on the field or be on the sideline. So all the, fancy designs and the things they send and all the pretty edits and all that, yeah, it's cool, but none of it really matters. Your top 5, your top 10 and all that stuff, nothing really matters once you step on campus. And that's kind of the things that some recruits don't get, now you got to de-recruit them when you get there and all that other stuff. So it's tough now with all the social media and all the things that boost these kids' heads up. But at the end of the day, my message is, look, keep your head down, grind, get stronger, get better. So when you get to school, you're not, looking around like what's going on. You're ready to hopefully get on the field and contribute.
Yeah, and the de-recruitment process is a real thing. I mean, some guys make it, like you said, some guys never, can get past the recruiting process and it costs them their career. But last question, Jeris, with all this image and likeness stuff that's going to be coming up, Dylan's walking into a brand new world of the NCAA. And I want to ask you, just as a guy that played the game and a guy that, could coach the game and all that stuff, I almost feel like it's going to be really hard to de-recruit people, especially when they get there and they're able to either get endorsements or they're making money off being popular. Now that job gets even harder. I'm not saying it's wrong, but I just think that obstacle is going to become even bigger and it's going to cost some guys.
Yeah, you're right. And they're young, so they don't get it. So if you give them some money and you're young and you feel like you got to have a say in things, it's going to definitely make it more difficult. I'm a component of either way they go. I mean, it would put money in their pockets, then good. If they don't, then they'll figure it out because our generation had to figure it out, Yeah. So I just one way or another. But I do feel like with the amount of money and with everything and the economy and everything, with NCAA making a lot of money and these schools, universities making all this money, that it wouldn't hurt to pay them. But at the end of the day, you're going to be opening up a whole other can, of worms when you do that. And on top of being able to pay everybody, because there's a lot of student athletes on campus that if you're going to pay football players and basketball players, you got to pay the swimmers and the gymnasts, which is only fair. So a lot of things that they have to kind of hash out if they're gonna do that. But at the end of the day, if they did, then hey, just the whole de-recruitment deal and the transfer portal is just going to blow up even more. Yeah. So be prepared for that side of it,
Yeah, it's basically turning into free agency anyway. But Jeris, man, great insight. I really appreciate you coming on. We're definitely going to have you on again. Can you tell everybody kind of where to reach you and plug whatever you want to plug, brother? I appreciate it.
Yeah, man. On Twitter, it's just at Jeris Mcintyre. For the most part, I'm on there daily. And that's really it, man. I just had a good time being on here, and I appreciate you, and hopefully we get back on soon.
Definitely, man. Well, be good, and we'll definitely be talking again soon, and stay safe out there. And tell Dylan we said what's up.
All right. For sure, man. We got to get him on here so you guys can talk to him, too. I appreciate it.
Hey, definitely, Jeris. All right, I'll talk to you soon, buddy.
Thank you. All right.
That was former Auburn star receiver Jeris Mcintyre, a guy that made a ton of plays in his career. So reliable, always had really good hands and a really nice burst. Like I said, got drafted in the 6th round of the Kansas City Chiefs. He's also the cousin of 4-star and huge Auburn and SEC target and current Tennessee commit Dylan Brooks. We're going to get Dylan on the show, going to talk about his recruiting process, so make sure you guys stay tuned for that. As usual, appreciate you joining us. We're growing at a crazy rate. Got some more unbelievable guests and recruits coming on. So make sure you tell your friends and stay tuned to us. Remember, you can find us on Twitter at The Jboy Show, on Instagram at The Jboy Show. We have our YouTube page, The Jboy Show, anywhere you get your podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. Regardless, you guys make this thing happen. This has been another edition of The Jboy Show. We want to make sure we thank the Investor Brand Network and Faison Harry Potter in the studio. I'll see you guys later. This is Jboy, and Jboy is gone.